If you're ready, I'm ready, buddy. Listen, we're all ready. Hey, everybody. We're ready. We're on air, it says. I think we're live. Steve, welcome back. Friday. Everybody else, welcome back.
Hi, Dave.
I am going to copy and paste this link. Let's get started with that. We got a pretty big one for you today. I think
we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff. I'm sending the link. You're sending the link.
Everybody's sending the link. Hey,
everybody's excited because it's Allen Hinds night tonight.
Everybody who has a link, send it.
Send it to your friends. Tell your friends. Tell your mother. Tell your cousins.
All right, I just slacked you. I just sent you the link in Slack.
I got it anyway. I just grabbed it.
All right, listen, everybody.
What's up, everybody?
We are just being silly, and this is the way the night's going to go. But let me open this another browser, put it on mute. Just make sure we're there. I'm going to like the video. Everybody else, if you want to like the video when you watch it, please do. It helps us out. All that silliness. Try and keep that to a minimum. Here's the sub button. So look at that. It says sub. It says click the thumb. It says comment. It says click the bell. It says all those things. And I'm done promoting. So everybody, this week we're going to talk a little Allen Hinds. But more than that, I want to talk a little about Bumblefoot, the Ron Thal thing we did last week or the week before. It was a classical piece, a Chopin piece. I dropped my pick, so I'm going to get one. This is professional. So the Bumblefoot thing, as I started exploring with it during the week, I was like, you know what? I didn't get to really chat about where to go after learning something like that. And so we're going to talk a little about just exploring with that. And then that slides into another legato thing I was working on, which was someone I knew before I knew Allen Hinds, which was Brett Garcid. And so I was listening to that centrifugal funk, the Varney thing with Sean Lane and who else is on there? Frank Gambali and Brett Garcid. And this is where I first got introduced to Brett and his legato stuff on that and his phrasing. He was just doing something special. I've heard other things that he's worked on, and some of it didn't really catch my ear as much as this did. I don't know if it was the grooves. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the powerful Sean Lane coming in and doing his thing, and then the two of them offsetting themselves, and then Frank with all his sweeps and stuff, which isn't really my thing so much. But anyway, so that got me into the legato, which then I heard Allen Hinds, and I hear where he gets a lot of his stuff from him, and it's very it's very easy to detect it. Not easy, but when you're analyzing it's easy to detect because there are certain ways he shifts positions that are very like Brett Garcid, which I never really connected the two until a few years ago. Then I was like, oh, you know what? Because Allen has a very slick way of sliding between positions, especially using his pinky to slide up the position and slide down. And he just, so I'm going to show a couple licks of Allen's. I'm going to show one really cool legato line of Brett. And we're also going to talk a little about that Bumblefoot thing. And then the last thing, I've got a few guitars here. I've got one with a standard bridge. I've got another with a floating tremolo. I've got a standard bridge that's floating, actually. And I also have a real Floyd. So one Floyd that pulls all the way up and back and forth, and the other one only goes down. And the reason I'm going to show all those is Steve and I were talking about this bending technique and really understanding the gear that you're using when you're bending, because a lot of people don't realize the complexity of just doing a simple blues bend, you know, especially when you're doing two notes, maybe a country style bend or just your typical, say, 15th fret on the B string and holding the E string on the 12th fret. Now you're bringing that 15th fret up to that E note. But if you don't bend that properly, those notes are going to have so much dissonance to it, which you may be after. But if you're going for that true bend where you have a lockdown bridge and you're just bending the 15th fret up to that E note, you're going to get something drastically different. And a lot of people it's one of those, they use their eyes more than they use their ears. So they go, well, I know how much to bend this note. And you don't really hear, that's all over the place. Anyway, so those are the things I'm going to discuss. And Steve, what do you got? What you been up to this week? How was your? Have we talked since the? No, the podcast was Easter holiday.
Yeah, we talked Easter. No, we didn't talk Easter. We talked Monday, and then we talked a little bit yesterday, just to kind of go over what we were talking about. And I had, I think I had mentioned to you that I had been working on a lot of playing, like that whole, moving up a half step to kind of get that fake playing out in, out of key thing. So I did that, and then I was working off of there's a John Scofield song. I always forget the name. It's like Rat-a-tat or something like that, and it's like a B flat, like 7 or B flat 7 sharp 9 chord mostly, and it's pretty static. So I've been trying to do that, and then I went back to the old. I was like, I try to do 2 or 3 things in a week, and so that was my improvisation / learning new stuff thing. And then I decided to watch your old video of Wind Me Up, how you broke that down. So I've been relearning that solo, which I hadn't never really learned the whole thing. So once I have it together, I'll send it to you so you can.
I love that
tell
solo,
me how I'm
man.
doing it. How I'm doing it wrong.
And raise my dick meter.
That's right. Well, you're 213.
213. Yeah, we haven't checked in a while, so it might be. Yeah, and actually, funny enough, so if you go to our Facebook page, Guitar Breakdown, for this week's stay on page for this week's. I don't think I've ever heard. Oh, I didn't even finish commenting. I'm sorry. All right, let me finish that comment so I could close the page. So if you go to our Facebook page, David Guitar Breakdown, I think that's what it is. My first name, David, and then the whole Guitar Breakdown is one word. And it's the red and blue logo that needs to be redone. That's there's GB on it. Anyway, there's... I posted this post for this video, and in fact, I have to post the link in here. But my buddy Mike Lawler, who we've had on this channel years ago, he did and if you guys want to back check on some of the lessons we did, just type in Mike Lawler, LAWLOR, and he did maybe 5 lessons or so, and it's so amazing because it's literally. He has this hybrid picking thing that's so smooth and slick, and it just pops. And there's something. I was always, every time he does it, even though I know he does it all the time, I'm always like, we'd be teaching in the same guitar store or whatever, and every time I hear him play, I'm like, oh, that's cool. And all of a sudden he does that, and I go, what? And he's got this rolling legato. He's got this rolling thing with the hybrid picking. And it's so much fun. Anyway, so he mentioned he posted a video of what's the song? It is
I thought he posted Fred, right?
Yeah, Fred, Tony Williams' Lifetime. So now I've always heard about Tony Williams' Lifetime, and I knew Holdsworth was in it. And weren't other guitar players in it, or was it just Holdsworth?
I don't know.
So I just always, and I think I heard some of it at music school, but I didn't get way into it. For some reason, I wasn't into it at that time. And I was not reminded this until I saw Lawler post this. And then Anders Almquist, he's
who's in the chat as we speak.
No.
Yeah.
Anders, oh, look at you, check 1 2 smiley face, buddy. Man, I haven't. So Anders is okay. So he graduated with Lawler. And he also graduated with Shane Terrio. And when I went to Atlanta Institute of Music, Shane was my teacher. And he had Anders come, I think it was the split when I went home for the summer. He came, we didn't have a lot of clinics at AIM, but Anders came, and it was, I saw the videotape of it, and it was so funny because... So I don't know if this was your first clinic, Anders. You could tell me if it was true or not. But you went out and you just plugged in and you set up, and all of a sudden you just literally turned it on 10 and just went, and it was top speed, crazy, picking arpeggios, all this stuff. And it was like a minute and a half with a backing track, and it was nonstop. And then when you were finished, everybody was just sitting there and like they didn't even know how to react because it was just so overwhelming right in your face. And I remember watching it for the first time just going, holy shit, what was that? That was so good, but just too much to absorb. And then Shane said, hey, let's play a blues. And then you guys played like all blues or something. And it crushed. And I remember back then he was doing stuff with a lot of like hitting harmonics and raising them in pitch with the bar and doing there was just so much to it. But he's a monster player. And then I saw some clips of him years ago. I think he's either in Pennsylvania or New Jersey, but I saw some clips of him playing live. Very short things. They may even be on YouTube. And or maybe it's on his Facebook page, but there was some fusion stuff. He's got the Henderson, the Holdsworth, he's got all that, but he's got the rock vibe. He's got what I loved about Shane when he first started teaching at AIM. Like there's this it's all that fusiony stuff, but with all the other meaty stuff that you need there. It's the Henderson thing. He's got all the blues, but he's got this crazy, crazy technique. And some of his chromatic lines are just so good. And I want to learn every single one of them.
I don't know if you gave it to me or I got it, but I've got some Anders stuff like on cassette from like 35 years ago. So yeah, it's funny how it all goes, man. I think I gave you the video of them and jamming at the clinic at AIM. And there's only one other thing, but I know he, I think he stopped playing out for a little while. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But every once in a while I'll see something he'll post and I'm just like, I mean, throughout the years, I'm in the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, just a monster player. But between him and Lawler and Shane, and Lawler plays out a ton. I mean, he's always playing out. Mike's always playing out. And it's funny too, because like I see a bunch of my friends that are like of the same age, and whether they went to like GIT or I knew them from like Guitar Workshop or whatever, like I see a few of my friends that are either coming back out or like have never really left, but they're still like at a high, like at a high level doing it. And I'm always just like, man, like, how do you have the energy to do that after like working 5 days a week? I'm ready for bed now, but yeah. It's inspiring to see, like, there's a couple of guys from Jersey that I see around here. And, I'm always just like, damn, man, like I kind of wish I could put something, get into something, play, but I just know like I don't have the intestinal fortitude to like just get out there and do it again. And I feel like that's one thing that I'm missing in my life is playing with other people and gigging again. So like I am kind of internally kind of having that debate about getting back out there again. Right. It's the first time I've actually thought about it in since I quit gigging a billion years ago. So I see all my friends and people that I know that are like in the same age bracket, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Maybe I should be doing this again.
Well, dude, I see like Landau's playing. He just played the other night. I forget with who, but it was more of a pop, not pop thing. But right. It wasn't his normal band, and it wasn't with his wife. He usually plays 2 nights of his, Friday, Saturday, and then he plays with his wife where she's singing. And that's a little more, sometimes more acoustic kind of stuff or whatever. But he plays that all the time, and he's 110. I mean, he's crushing it. And so it's I get it. It's a pain in the ass, especially back east when the weather's. I mean, here the weather's always the same, so you're just going out. You roll the windows down. You have a beautiful night to drive. So by the time you get to the baked potato or wherever you got, it's fun. You want to be there, So
yeah. I just know it would also be a lot different. I was like thinking about gig nightmares, and hauling, like Marshall, stacks up like 2 flights of stairs to play for like a 20-minute set.
Well, now you'd be using the Tonex. You wouldn't be using the Marshall. Plug them straight into the board.
Just plug my Tonex. Right. That's it. I mean, that's the fun part.
Hey, Anders, your chops are rusty. No way. I highly doubt that, dude. But listen, if you ever, I'm putting you on the spot, pretend like you left and you didn't hear this so you don't have to comment back. But if you are still there and you do want to comment, we want you on here to chat one day, because I have so many questions for you, and how GIT was for you, how coming to this country was for you, how gigging was, what you did after GIT, your relationship with Shane Terrio, Lawler, all that kind of stuff, the guys that you used to gravitate towards. I assume you gravitated towards Henderson back then when you went to MI. I mean, I can only imagine that's where you got some of that stuff from. But I wonder if you also were into like the Rush Parishes, the Paul Gilberts, if Dan Gilbert was a guy for you, if you got into any of the other guys like the Joe Pass or the, who were the jazz guys that were there when you were there, Steve? Because I think Anders went around the same time, a little before maybe.
Well, Joe Pass I never saw there.
Diorio, was he still there?
Diorio was not there the year that I was there.
Okay.
Ron Eshete, I saw a bunch.
Oh, okay.
Norman Brown, I saw a bunch.
Was John Paisano, did he ever teach there?
No, I don't. No. That name, no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I sent you that. I don't know if you saw that open counseling list.
I
of
did.
All the teachers.
And then the one was, all of them were cool, except for the one was 1 out of 80 were Darren Householder. And I was like, oh my God, I hope you went to that clinic or that open.
Oh yeah. I went to that one. He only taught I think 1 day a week or something like that.
Was he only there for like a year or so?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think he was there like a whole lot of time. I don't think he was there a long time.
Did he actually go through GIT? Was he a student? No.
I know he was a Berkeley guy, but I don't know if he was a GIT
right.
guy.
He was. Yep.
Let me see. Sid Jacobs, Beth Marlis, if you consider her a jazz player. I don't know if you would.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now especially.
Let's see. Don Shaw, who was one of my guys. Barrett Tagliarino, but he's not really a jazz player. Vic Trigger, Pedro Wyatt, Keith Wyatt. Yeah, I'm looking. Eric Pascal.
Did you ever study with Don Mock? Was he still there when you were there?
No. That was one that I would have loved.
Yeah.
To have had.
What about Travato?
Travato was there. Yeah, he was there. Travato was there. He did a lot of open counseling.
Yeah, he was busy. I mean, he did a lot. Even when like the AIM clinics and so he came in with Jimmy Herring, and that's when Steve Freeman and he was. I mean, during that time, Travato was busy.
Yeah,
Carl Verheyen.
Carl Verheyen played there when I was there, and did like a small setting classroom thing, but he wasn't on staff at that point. I think he was on staff in like the mid 90s after I was gone.
Okay.
Yeah. Vic Trigger. Yeah. Right.
Who was he? I remember the name, but I don't remember who Vic Trigger was.
There was so many teachers there, dude. Who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to somebody, and we were going through the list of all the different players, and I was just like, holy crap, I forgot that guy's name. Or it's funny, when I was chatting with Kay Marioka the other, maybe last week, and he had told me that he was playing with Paul Hansen. Do you remember Paul Hansen?
Oh my God, I do. Yeah. Who did he play with? Wasn't he with Accept or something? No,
I don't think he played with Accept. I mean, his big claim to fame was like he was the guy that taught Michael J. Fox how to play.
Oh right, yeah.
but I guess he had like a side project, and Kay was either his bass player or his rhythm guitar player.
Oh wow.
And then, like I said, did he have those goofy axe sacks? Do you remember those like silly things that like you would put, like if you had your guitar, it was like a condom almost, so that you wouldn't bang
Oh,
your
yeah,
guitar.
yeah.
So like,
And there was there was a purpose? I thought that was a look. That was to protect your guitar?
it was allegedly to protect.
Oh, that's
your guitar.
funny. I thought that was just a look that people liked there.
Yeah.
So wait, okay. So
know.
Anders said two things, but the Vic Trigger, who is that? Like I know the name, but what style was he?
He was. I forgot I forgot his style. I don't remember.
What about who's Steve Dudas?
Steve Dudas.
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
Another one that I believe I'd heard. So again, dude, there was like probably 60. He goes, "Don't rip the axe sack." There was probably like 60 teachers.
Wait. No, I think like, Anders used to have one.
Oh, did he? Oh,
I don't. You know what? I don't. Really? I could be wrong.
So funny.
So I do remember somebody through those.
Well,
I don't know.
Listen, I mean, an axe sack probably would have helped my guitar.
Yeah.
Look at the, look at all the dents and scratches. I mean, also from gigging all those years, but. Yeah, like let's see if you can see them here. Yeah, there you go.
That's funny. So you guys were so lucky because you guys had, again, I always wanted to come out to GIT and I went to AIM and I loved it and I'm so glad. I mean, I would have never become good friends with, or the friends that I am with Shane. And it just, he opened up, just him alone opened up a huge world. And Steve Freeman, monster player. And then just knowing some of those, Jimmy Herring was a lot more popular down there. He's a Southern boy kind of thing. There was, I got introduced into the Derek trucks, which I don't think was a big thing out here. You guys had the 80s Racer XE, all that kind of stuff and everything. So there was definitely influences that I'm glad I got when I was there, but we didn't have access to, I mean, Shane was the monster player down there. He was the guy, and Steve Freeman when he wanted to play. Everybody else was a good player. There was another guy named Sid Wolfook, I think his full name was, and monster player. Great teacher, but it wasn't like you guys where Rush Parrish and all these names that we're saying right now, and they all had their own little unique thing. Don Mock had his stuff, Steve Travato more of the country stuff, Scott Henderson, Allen, all these guys had their places, and then you had the Paul Gilbert, the pure rock guy, and I don't know.
Oh, dude, it was overwhelming. And, on top of that, like you're 19 years old and you've never been away from home and you're just trying to like figure it all out. And, like, again, I wasn't out there to really party or anything. I was just out there to like absorb as much of it as I could. That was the thing. But so in a way, like, not having as many teachers probably would have concentrated your efforts into like one style. Whereas like when I was out there, I told you, like, I wish I had more, I just literally ran in, like, it was, for me, I told you it was like, I was in Russ's open counseling. I was in Don Shaw's open counseling. I was always in pretty much like Householder when he did it. And basically like those were the guys where like I would record all that stuff and go back, to the apartment and try to learn the lines and everything else. But there was just so many players that, like I was just like, I don't have time to like go in, and plus you had your core classes too. And you had to work on all that stuff. So after a while, and I don't know how, if Anders, you could relate, but like after a while, I was just kind of like bailing on my regular classes and just kind of doing open counseling and playing with as many people as possible. Just other students, putting like student bands together. I was just trying to like absorb as much as possible out there. And I almost feel like it was sensory overload. Like,
well, people don't realize how quickly that goes. I mean, 1 year course goes so fast, especially when it's the first time, like, I'd never left New Jersey. I mean, a few vacations with family or whatever, but I'd never, and to be on my own, that experience alone, and then, so 2 months goes by quick. You're just getting acclimated. You're excited. You're meeting new people, all this, 2-3 months goes, that's already a quarter of the whole. And then you get into it and you start diving into it, and then you start learning new stuff that you want to learn. Oh, the Van Halen, the things that you had in your mind coming into school, and then all of a sudden you get turned on to those Joe Diorios or the Holdsworth or the things that open up your whole world, and you're like, what is this? And that makes 2 or 3 months of exploration go by. Now you're halfway through. And you haven't really even absorbed any of it. Like you've just kind of at least where I was at my level, I could grasp it, but I couldn't put it into my playing because I was struggling with it so much. Then you're seeing, okay, I only have 6 more months left or whatever. Then you get some some guys come in town, do a clinic and all, and you're just it's crazy. It goes so. And they always said they said just absorb as much as you can. You're going to be working on this for a lifetime. At least for the next bunch of years, you'll be going through all this material. Don't try and really
don't try to you can't. And after a while, I was just like, all right, I got to try to experience as much of just like playing and definitely going the same route where I wanted to just kind of walk out of there knowing more than what I walked in. And the big thing for me was like when I left, I wanted to be able to just feel like I could go in and play with pretty much any band and be competent. You know what I mean? Like I knew, like I've said this a million times before, like I'm not that like upper 1% of players like, Paul Gar. I just want to be a good working pro that could like hit a gig and keep a rhythm and play a lead and do my thing and understand what I'm doing. And like that was the objective for me, was to just kind of get in there and, be a serviceable professional. And that's what I got out of it.
Like you said, just be able to jump on stage and if you wanted to. I remember the one time I went to Cancun and I just finished music school and I was, you get a little sloppy in Cancun. We were on the boat going to Isla Mujeres, and we were over there in the boat band's playing, and halfway through, all my buddies are going, man, go up there, you crush it, go play some. Go. So I talked to the guy, and I'm like, man, I throw out. No, we never said we went to AIM. We always said back then we went to GIT because it was GIT East, but it was, nobody really knew what it was back then, but everybody knew what MI was. So I was like, yeah, I just finished GIT and this and so, okay, well, after everybody gets off the island, come back early and we'll set you up and you'll play. And I think I played Zeppelin's Rock and Roll or whatever, and something simple with the band, and we start playing it, and immediately, I was so, at that point we just got off playing games on the island and drinking for like an hour. So I can't believe this guy gave me his guitar. And I go up there, and the first thing I start doing is we start playing, and I did the George Lynch thing, like you get into 2 seconds of the rhythm and you just start soloing.
Yeah.
And I start doing these sweep arpeggios and stuff, and I don't even know what happened after that, but it was so fun. But I was so confident at that point, coming from music school, that I knew I can get on pretty much anywhere, unless it's a heavy fusion thing or something, and be able to hang a little bit, unless I'm 10 drinks into it.
I remember this is a funny story. So I come back from GIT and I hook back up with Stephen Ross, who, for those who are in the chat that may or may not know, Stephen Ross was a shrapnel guy who was also my really good friend, kind of my mentor and my teacher. So I hadn't played with him in over a year. And so I go back and we're jamming, and I was like, whoa, I'm holding my ground, like I just was like, I'm holding my ground, and it felt really, really good. Where like, he still could kick my ass in pretty much every scenario, but like, I didn't feel like it was like teacher student anymore. I felt like it was like teacher lesser guitar player.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like, I was able to, to the point where he was recommending me for gigs and stuff. So that was kind of cool, at least to the point where, I had the street, I had the street cred, but that was kind of cool for me, was just having having the respect like on that level of my, the guy that kind of taught me. But so many good memories. And it's funny that Anders is another guy that's in New Jersey. It's like, damn, man, we have a lot of freaking good
Yeah.
players from New Jersey, man. It's like just thinking like, you got Anders, you got Mike, I mean, you got Steven Ross. I mean, there's so
Got the
many.
Tom
Ron
Monda. You got the
Bumblefoot,
guys.
you got
And
the Tom
it's so
Monda, you got Brendan Ellis. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many dudes that like I'm not even hitting on like a third of them. I mean, like the older cats like Dimiola. I mean, there's so many guys, like Greg Howe was originally from Jersey. So many dudes.
There was something in the water. There was a poison.
Yeah. I guess that mercury toxin out of the Passaic River, those crabs that we were eating and the eels, like I guess that was it.
There's a Ben Stiller movie that I love that it's called Envy. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh, it is hilarious. It's got Jack Black and Ben Stiller, and they both work in this factory or something. And Jack Black's kind of the guy that they live across the street from each other in modest homes, and they go to work every day. Ben drives Jack. They come across the street, drive him to work, and Ben goes into his office. He's kind of like a manager, and Jack is just a regular guy, but he's always trying to invent things with this one crazy guy. And they came up with something called it's called Poop Be Gone or something, and they spray it on poo and it disappears. And he's like, but that's not a thing. It doesn't just happen. Blah blah blah. Anyway, but in the middle, the horse ends up dying. They have Jack Black ends up making this Poop Be Gone, becoming rich, and Ben didn't invest in it, so he's envious of him because now he's got this huge mansion across the street. He's got horses and all this stuff, and the horse ends up dying. And the nurse that analyzes this says the horse died. There was a little poison, and he goes, a little person. He died of a little poison, and it was a lethal poison.
Right.
It's so funny. I don't know. I said something that was something about the person before. But anyway, sidetrack. Anders, Steve Friedman, he mentions is a beast. And if anybody... So this is the problem with some of these guys. I guarantee if you go on YouTube and type in Steve Friedman, you probably won't find anything. And he did release an REH... it was an audio tape back in the day. It wasn't a video. He might have had a video. I don't remember. But the audio tape was amazing. It was like 5 or 6 of his tunes off his record. Very fusion, very... there's 2 or 3 tunes that I loved. And it's very Henderson-y-ish, sort of, but not as bluesy. It's... I wouldn't even know how to describe it, but it's got that fusion-y, chicory kind of thing going on. That typical back in the day jazz rock fusion. And that's the only place anybody could hear him play, really. And he is a monster. He has this vibrato. He's got that, for a jazz player, he does that Steve Vai kind of round, swirly, kind of long finger kind of vibrato. And it's just beautiful. And there is a clinic he did, like I said, with Steve Trovato, Jimmy Herring, and he got up and played like 2 or 3 tunes or whatever. And it's just amazing. Some of the lines he played, and that vibrato is just insane. But there's just some of these guys that you just nobody knows about. And I can imagine just us, you and I dive into this so head first. We explore on YouTube, and I guarantee there's millions of people we don't know that are monsters out there.
Yeah. Well, and I think the great dividing line for most of that is, obviously the sense of business acumen is one thing.
Yeah.
The tunes, playing with, whether it's kind of building your own thing up or playing with someone else and having that cachet of being like, hey, I played with this guy and this person, this girl, this band. And, that is where you kind of get that exposure for the most part. I mean, like that's kind of what builds it up. But I mean, there's so many good guys that are just like, one of my friends that I knew for a long time, monster player. He just would do cruise ships. He was like a cruise ship guy, and he made a smoking living doing it, but
Right.
it's soul sucking. You know what I
But
mean?
even
Like,
what was that guy's name? I always say, and I don't know why I can never remember. But what was that one guy's name? He did a clinic at the Connecticut workshop thing. He wrote a few books, little blues jam backing track book. I've brought him up before. You introduced me to him.
No, who? My teacher, Chris Emler?
Chris Amalar. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Monster player, dude. His fusion stuff was man, I was way into his stuff. And there's barely anything. I think he has a YouTube channel with maybe 30 videos on it from about 30 years ago, like when YouTube just started. And I think they're all the same thumbnail. And it's just him playing, maybe teaching. I don't remember, but monster player.
Well, and I think also a lot of things kind of happen. Like, and I know Chris, and I just actually was speaking with him.
Really?
On social media. Yeah, like a week ago.
What's he on social?
He's on Facebook.
Okay.
He in his case, life happened. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
He had a family, and that kind of took precedence. But I mean, in his case, like, I mean, that dude went to William Patterson College for jazz. That's not like going to Bergen Community College for music. You know what I mean? Like that's a real, like, you gotta be able to play to go to William Patterson.
Oh, he was a hitter. That's the other thing I was going to say too, because like even Anders, if he's still around, but I want to hear your Shane's audition tapes, because I remember when I sent in an audition tape to go to AIM, it was not good. I mean, there's something they say, play this, play a major scale, whatever it is, the stupid stuff to make sure you can just get in. And then there were other, then you put a little something where you're jamming over something. And I would love to hear the entrance. Do you remember yours? Your entrance tape to GIT?
Oh, mine? Oh, yeah.
Was it bad?
It wasn't good. Let's put it that way. It wasn't good. It was a demo that I had done. I'd just gotten a 4-track, like a Yamaha 4-track.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. I think the GIT, it's really hard to remember. They give you a written exam.
Right.
And then they had given you like, play something by yourself, I think it was. And maybe, and Anders can, if he remembers, can speak to this as well. But I forgot, like, I just did like I had done a demo where like I was trying to, before I went to GIT, I was trying to get into a band. So I put a couple of things together and I sent them that. And like, I don't think it's really that difficult to get into it's because
especially back then they just wanted they'll take anybody. Our as I've said before, our intro class, all 4 quarters I was there. Quarter ones that would come in my quarter, and then the quarter one after, and the quarter they dramatically go from, if say there's 50 students in a class, quarter 2 there's maybe 35, quarter 3 there's 10, quarter 4 I had one class graduated with 1 guitar player. And so even the performance classes, all the teachers did stuff with him, or quarter 3 people would get up there and just play the rhythm backing for the live performances or whatever. But I mean, we had a dropout rate that was extended. It should have been, because some of these people literally were barely holding on to bar chords.
Yeah, it was funny because I remember like there was a guy that lived in the other building down the street on Sycamore, and I love this guy. So like, I'm not going to say anything bad about him as playing, but I was just always like, how is this dude in this school, man? Like, it's just, and that was kind of like the first clue. I was just like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
They'll take anybody, which then kind of gave me that whole like Groucho Marx thing where it's just like, I don't want to be in any club that'll have me as a member.
Right.
Like I'm sitting there going, wait a minute. If he's in this school, do I suck that bad? Like, I was just like, do I suck that bad?
The answer is like, yes.
Probably. It's funny because, there's like this false sense of security that you have when you're that young. You think you're far better than you actually
Sure.
probably
Yeah.
are at that point. But I think that's the opportunity, though. You have the opportunity to, to go and to make as much out of it. And we've talked about this before too, where it's like, there were guys that were there that I was like, this guy should just get an apartment and like live in Hollywood, and because he's more interested in going to like the Cat House than he is going to GIT and
Right.
learning. Which is cool. There's my roommate that I love dearly. He kind of walked the line of really busting his ass for school, but then he was enjoying the life. He was going out. Like, I remember, he was just like, oh, we're gonna go see Megadeth at the Cat House. It was like this special like surprise show, and he went to all these shows. And like, in a way, I kind of regret not going to that kind of stuff because he had all those great experiences. But I was just like, man, I got to get up early because I gotta practice. I like I am now, you know what I mean? Like, it was very regimented. So I think it's your personalities that kind of come out when you do that in school too, as well. Because I was very much short of like going for a lot of walks and trying to be as healthy as I could. I mean, I'm pretty much the same person in terms of like
Right.
I get up early. I go to the gym. Like back then, it was just like I would get up early, I would play, then I would go to class, and then I would play with as many people as possible, and that was my life. And the reality too, when you came back from music school, was like, oh shit, like I've got to get a life now. Like
Right.
whereas,
Right.
like,
Right.
my
Oh,
dad,
it was a party. It was a year
it
of
was
literally getting up,
it was
doing nothing
yeah.
but guitar.
My dad was very cool about everything, but he was just like, all right, you're back home. You can move back in. He's like, you can either go to college, like you can continue your education, or you can try to, get a job and stuff and move on. And, I don't care what you do, but you got to do something. You can't just like kind of hang out. And my dad had just spent like, $6,000 for me to go to GIT. So I felt really like, I don't think I'm going to have you pay for me to go to college. So what I did was I took it on my own and, started taking part-time classes at community college. And then I got like a part-time job, but that also at the same time, I had gotten an internship in the music business. And that's what I told you. Like, I met somebody on my floor whose girlfriend worked for a record company, and that got me in the whole business. So like, that's the other thing. It was very serendipitous. If I didn't go to GIT, I probably wouldn't have ended up working in the business side of things because of the fact that, she had worked for a label and that she gave me the name of a person at this music marketing company, and that got me in with an internship. If I didn't have that name, I was just another schmuck trying to get an internship, especially with no college credits, because that's like impossible, So that's what I really like when I say like what GIT gave me. Besides all of that, was the opportunity for the string to be pulled on to network for a career. That was the big thing.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, we're 45 into this. Let's
talk about Allen, dude. Like, I'm totally about that. Man.
Okay. Let's first, let me real quick just do this Bumblefoot thing, and that'll segue into the Brett Garcid and Allen kind of stuff. So
cool.
Let me share my screen here. Actually, I'm not going to share my screen. That is the Brett thing. I'll share just my screen. So let me know if you could hear my guitar here. Can you hear that?
Again.
All right. So the Bumblefoot thing that we did last week was basically it was very legato-y, very beginning thing. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. This is just that intro part of the line. It's then he taps up here, right? So another way to play that, we mentioned before, you can play. play the note on the B string instead of the tap, or you can go... You can skip a string, go up here, or you can do what I like to do, which is a nice slide. Right? Slide up to that 13th fret. So if you want to learn that lick, we'll do it real quick. It's on the D string, 6, 7, 6, 5, and you slide up a half step. So... Then you go to the next string where that first finger has gone up to the 6th fret. You bar it, you go on the G string, which is the 6th fret. So you have... Then you just do 9, 8, 6. Then you go 8, 6. So 9, 8, 6, 8, 6. And then you slide down a half step to the 5th fret. Then you just hammer on from that 5th fret, 6, 8, and then you either tap on the 13th fret, or you could slide up to that 13th fret. So it's... And so the only two pick notes, it's very legato, is that first note, and then when you go to the 6th fret of the G string, you just pick that first note. Right? Now, when we touched on this last week, it goes into another part, and there's some two-hand tapping up here where he does 2 fingers, and he gets into just a whole nother section. And it's really cool. So if you guys want to check that out, it's on the last live thing. In fact, I think Steve did a thing in the comments where he put, I didn't even mention this to you. I did see that just yesterday or the day before. So he put chapter links in there, so I'm sure there's a chapter link of where this idea and lick is. So the thing I wanted to get back into this week with that is I didn't mention how, I mean, that's a cool thing to play and it's fun, but the way to now take that like you should, or I like to do with everything, and explore further with it. How am I going to use that? I mean, that's a little classically, right? And I'm like, okay, it's got a little diminished in there. You got the half steps, the whole step, half step kind of thing going on. How can I use that in something I use all the time? Well, let's think just a typical major scale kind of thing. I always go to like C major or A minor. No sharps, no flats. So make it easy. So if I were to do that on, say, the B and E string, right? Basically, you would do the same thing where it's 3 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You're doing those. Now, I'm not going to do chromatic. I want to take this within the scale. So I'm going to start on the G note on the, or the A note on the 10th fret of the B string. And I'm just going to do A, the 10th fret to the 12th fret, 10, 8. So that's the same thing. You're doing that same pattern with your finger, right? So you're doing 10, 12, 10, 8, and then you're going to slide up to the 8th fret. So that's like here where you're doing finger-wise, 2nd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st, slide the 1st. But that's all chromatic. Well, this is going to be whole steps. Now you're going to bar your first finger like you did before on that E string on the 10th fret. And you're going to do that same thing you did where it's 10, 13, 12, 10, 12, 10. So you have, and then you slide down that half step. So when you slide down the half, when you slide down to that 8th fret, you're going to hammer on 8, 10, 12. So you have, and then slide up to the 17th fret, or wherever you want to slide up to. And that's that same pattern. So listen to the pattern of the first one. Now this one. Same thing. Now if you move that up a whole step, and do the same thing, and you're staying in the key of C, you have a different fingering. So now you're starting on the 12th fret instead of the 10th, and you're doing 12, 13, 12, 10, and you slide up to 12. Now, at that 12th fret, that's where you bar over with your first finger, and you do that same kind of thing. But this time, you do 12, 15, 13, 12. We have... Then you're going to do 13, 12, 10, up to 12, 13, and then slide up to... say the 19th fret if you want. So that whole thing is... right? And now, I didn't work on this a ton. This was just the concept and the idea, and I haven't played all day today, and those are my excuses for the day. But it's basically, you see what's happening, even though this is starting with a chromatic thing up here. You can do it here if you wanted to. You can do a similar thing where, say you do, say you're thinking of this, where you're doing 11, 12, 11 on the B string. You do 11, 12, 11, 10, slide up to the 12 even. You can go up a whole step. So, and now, and I'm just thinking natural notes. I'm not thinking really exactly how this sounds with the intervals and everything. I'm just trying to get the patterns. So this is more of a chromatic thing, which is like the chromatic thing Bumblefoot did. Right? So... you can do anything you want, but you're trying to get those little fingerings patterns going, because I think this is a really cool pattern. It's so many legato notes. There's only 2 picking note points. So to me...
I get kind of a Vito Bratta thing off of that too, when you're doing it as away from the chromatic and you're actually doing it as whole tone.
Yes, he does a lot of legato stuff where he's sliding. Again, he's got a lot of separation in notes, and he does. This is a very melodic-y kind of legato, as opposed to just doing, like, that 3 note per string thing, or even, just flailing around. This has a little more organization to it. So I don't know. It was just, to me, it was something that I wanted to explore more, because every time I forget how to play that little classical piece of his and I go back to it, I'm like, why do I like this so much? And I was like, you know what? I need to explore.
No, that's cool. That's cool. We have a person watching, and I apologize if I pronounce your name incorrect, but I have a Siamic who is watching us on a train and sending us cheers. So thank you for watching. And if you are still watching, let us know where you're watching from. We always love to see, we always love watching or seeing where people are watching in on. So definitely thanks for joining us today.
Definitely. And yeah, taking a train, man, it's got to be, it's not in California. Well, we have trains in California, sort of, especially ones that go up north or whatever. But maybe a different country, maybe.
Could be.
Interesting. So anyway, if you guys want the tab for that, check out the Patreon. That's not up yet, and you'll find it there. I'm an idiot. I'm telling you, it will be.
Check the Patreon. Currently on the way to MA, as in, I guess, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Right. I know who this is. This is
nice.
my dude.
Okay.
This is my dude.
Okay, cool. What's up, my dude? My dude.
This is my dude. Yes, I know who this cat is. Okay. Once you said Massachusetts and Jersey, I know who this cat is.
All right. So now with this legato stuff, let's get into real quick. So Brett Garcid did this thing called a song called "So What" on that centrifugal funk. And I'm not going to play it. Last week was the first week we didn't have a copyright strike, so I was very proud of that. So, but we probably will if I play the actual tune here, the Varney thing. So if anybody wants to check it out, it's called Centrifugal Funk. And it is an album. I don't think there's a lot of songs on it, but it's got, like I said, it's got it's got Sean Lane, it's got Brett Garcid, and it has Frank Gambali on it. And it's great. The grooves are just really, really cool.
It's sonically, it sounds dated, but it's a great record.
Oh, I don't think it. I mean, it does, but it's still magical.
It sounds dated. I think, and it's only because of the production. It's very like watery sounding. It's just a typical early 90s kind of sound. It's just, but it sounds like
it to me. I get the feeling that, especially with these kind of heavy hitters, and it wasn't like they had, home studios where everybody does now, I assume.
Right.
So I guarantee they just went in here. They had the tracks. They went in one at a time, probably not even together. And in fact, Sean might have been in Atlanta. Brett might have been out here in California. They go in, they record their solos, they mash it together. It takes 2 days to do, and that's it. It seems like it was kind of mashed together, but it sounds, it's awesome. These guys are just monsters.
When you think about like how those records, and I don't want to go too far off topic, but when you think about like the way that those records come together, where you have like these guys, like, because there's two. There's like the other one that they did, which is the MVP one, which is Gambali and which one is the other one? Garcid and
Homerick? No,
like two of them.
Wasn't there one with Greg Howe, a mix like this?
There's another one too. Yeah, that's Richie Kotzen and Greg Howe. But you think about it, right? And like these guys come together, and it reminds me of like all the old jazz stuff from like the 50s and 60s, where like they would show up to a session, and you'd be in the studio, and it'd be like, okay, here you go. Here's like, we're gonna take it from the head, and we know here's the charts, and like blow, you know what I mean?
Right.
And meanwhile, you got to like keep it together, obviously, to be able to, have the rhythm and that part of it. Then you got to have the melody, and then you got to blow. So it's like anytime that those records kind of come where they have those guys, like especially because it reminds me of the sense like where you have an old jazz like Blue Note record, and like Ron Carter, the bass player, who's still alive, by the way, in his late 80s, but Ron Carter played with everybody. He was in Miles Davis's band, Herbie Hancock. I mean, he's still active in his late 80s, and he had said that like we didn't like rehearse. We'd show up, they'd say like, this is what we're doing, and there'd be this whole just get to it and record, and it was done in a day. And you think about like some of these sessions, they did like 2 or 3 records in one day. So to me, and thanks, Anders. Yeah, that's the record I was thinking of, was the Truth in Shredding record. That was the Mark Varney stuff. Like that whole thing to me was just like all those records at the time, man. They were just coming out like there's so many records back then.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. I remember that Truth in Shredding one. And it's Jimmy Earl on bass. It's got Holdsworth on guitar. It even says Syntax. It's got Frank Gambali, Steve Tavaglione on keys. Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Those were great albums.
And then like, and then you had like Brett and TJ had, put a couple of records out, and those songs were good. Like
the
not
quid
even
pro
the
quo
thing. Part of it. Yeah, I love that quid pro quo. Like just the tunes were so catchy for like that kind of music. So there was a great output of, whatever that was. Cause I don't really consider that like fusion per se. It was more rock. And I mean, like, I don't know really what to classify that stuff as, but there was really like all of that. And then like Greg Howe did, he did the one with Richie Kotzen. That was pretty insane. There's so many great records, especially like everybody kind of looks to the late 80s, but I to me, man, like the early 90s to the mid 90s, when guitar playing was kind of considered taboo, man, like there were so many great records that came out, and there was still a great, tremendous amount of output. I mean, it just wasn't about like, you know, guitars that looked like this anymore.
Right.
So.
Anders is saying Tom Brecklin on drum. Brecklin?
Yeah.
Oh, Brecklin, right? Yeah. Yeah, it does say it's Tom Brecklin on drums. Keyboards, Freddie Ravel. Yeah, that's dude. I just love this stuff. In fact, I was listening. The point of this is I was listening to the MVP stuff. The one with Brett Garcid doing this tune called "So What," and I'm going to share my screen here. Now, this is somebody playing along with this, so maybe I won't get a backing copyright strike.
You're getting a copyright strike.
And maybe it won't figure it out.
It's happening.
Right. So this is just the solo part. So again, I'm trying to sort of avoid but there's two important legato lines that I want to get into with this, and one of them is going to transition into where I think it connects to the Allen Hinds thing, which is kind of the topic of the day. So here is the solo to this. So good, and that kid crushed it. Good for him. He has a YouTube channel. I don't think he posts much anymore. Hoop Mons Music. I think the last post he had was 2 years ago. Shorts, 20 shorts. I don't know if these are recent or not. I don't know how shorts actually work with their dates. I usually go to the comment section to see. A month ago? Okay, so maybe this guy posts shorts and stuff now. But he has a couple of these Brett Garcid things, and this one, that solo is just so cool, and there's so many little lines in it. Even that intro line that I'm going to try and catch here a little quicker because I don't know if you got to hear it, but listen to just the intro to this. So you didn't get to hear it. Kind of snaps in. It doesn't have a lead in, but it's this very cool. You can see on the screen. It's got this it's string skipping all the way down to the low strings, and then it's string skipping around. And the way the tab is actually in this, here I go with my this is wrong. It's not wrong, but the tab has it one way. You could see, even though his screen's dark, he's playing a different way. And then the way I think it's actually played with Brett, because I did some of his instructional video stuff, I don't really recall him always string skipping around. He always did that hybrid pick in between. So this very beginning intro lick, I'll show on my screen. They basically, in the tab, if I can even see it, it's basically... And Brett did do this a lot. He used all four fingers on a lot of his legato lines. So it's 12, 14, 15, 17. And it's all those notes, then he pulls back down. So it's... Then he goes down to the low E string. So he skips all the way down from the high E string to the low E string and does the same basic pattern, 15, 14, 12... 14, 15, 17. So here he starts with the 12th fret, going up those four notes. Then he transitions by putting the third finger on the 15th fret and going 15, 14, 12, 14, 15, 17. Right, so you have... And when you do it fast, you get that separation from really high to really low, and you just get this, it's a cool little effect. And then he string skips to that same exact pattern. So I think I hear, and I haven't really broken this down a ton, but I think he just literally string skips and does the same thing, an octave above. So instead of doing 12, 14, 15, 17, it's 14, 16, 17, 19, right? So you have... I think that's what he's doing. And then he comes down to the 17th fret on the A string. So... Right? Paul Gilbert used to do that in, I think it's... They used to do those kind of string skipping kind of things where they do like 15, 14, 12, and then you go down to the 12th fret, you skip a string to the G string, and you do 12, 11, 9.
Yeah, yep.
And maybe even you would go back down to the low E string and go 15, 14, 12 there. So you're doing 15, 14, 12 on the, both E strings, and then on the G string you're doing 12, 11, 9. Yeah, and it's just a simple way of getting more mileage out of a simple kind of lick. So the this wasn't the lick that I was going to really talk about, but it's just a cool one the way it goes. And the way, again, the tab does something a little different. It goes... It does something like that. It stays around here. This guy ends up, instead of doing the skip from here, skipping the octave here, he does the octave down here. So he goes on the G string instead of the D string. So there's multiple ways to do this, and they're all cool and they're all viable. There's reasons for it. But the way I think Brett actually does this is when he goes and skips that string, I think he does some hybrid picking where he goes the next string after he gets to that 17th fret on the A string, he goes 16, 17, then 14, 16, 7, 14, 16, 17. Yeah, then he goes 14, 16, 17, then he does a chromatic thing on the B string where it's 15, 16, 17. And then he goes up to the 20th fret and he bends there. So it's... that's it. But he's using these 3 or 4 fingers to pick. He always does that kind of thing. So anyway, that was a cool little lick, I thought, with the string skipping kind of, and it gets the intro of string skipping and some legato stuff and how he uses 4 fingers on and instead of 3 and stuff. But the cooler lick that I really, really liked is this little legato line that he's got going. And let me share the screen again. Desktop audio. One more time we'll do. Okay, so that lick, what was so cool about that, it's a pretty straightforward legato thing. It's being played over a B minor 7 chord, that section, and it's basically the 3rd fret. He's kind of pulling off, he's playing between the 4th and 3rd fret, which is your minor 3rd and 2nd. If you were to play B on the low E string, you have 6, 8, 9. That would be your root, second, and minor third, right? So he's just playing that second and minor third here on the 3rd fret and 4th fret of the A string. And then he's going down to the root with his pinky. So if you think of the scale, it's basically your root note with your pinky. It's basically that, if your root note's with your first finger, it's like the pentatonic, right? You're playing your pentatonic here. It's that position behind it. So it's basically the major scale or the minor scale using your root note as your pinky. So the legato line is a simple one. It's pivoting off of that 3, 4, 3 on the A string, going back down to the root. And then it just climbs up 3, 4, 6 on the A string. Then he just does a little pivot thing on the 3rd, 6th, 3rd, 5th, 3rd on the D string. So it's 3, 6, 3, 5, open. So it's right, and that's a typical thing to do. Instead of just going up the notes down, you pivot off a few notes. So you have, then you go down to the next string and you go the A string 6, 4. So then you pivot off of that 3rd fret on the D string, and you go down 6, 4, 3 on the A string. Now here's the really, really cool part. The cool part is now he goes up to the 4th fret on the A string, but now he starts playing what most people don't do. They start going up 4th intervals or things similar to that. 4th, or this is a sharp 4. So you're going the 4th fret to the 5th fret on the A to D string. And then you actually do the same thing. You end up going a sharp 4 or a flat 5 from the 5th fret on the D string to the 6th fret on the G string. So you literally have a half step up on each string from the 4th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret on those strings. And you get this really dissonant thing. Now the notes are going by pretty quickly, so you don't really get that dissonance together, but it's there inherent, and it's a very saxophone thing to do, go up intervals like that, 4ths, flat 5s, things that guitar players don't do. Guitar players go up very linearly, and a sax thing it's a lot easier to play 4th intervals. So when he does this and just throws that in there after doing all these single linear notes, it's such a cool sound. And here's where he's picking that hybrid pick. He's playing the 4th fret on the A string with the pick, and then he's using the 3rd finger on the right hand to pick that 5th fret on the D string, and he's using the 3rd finger to pick the 6th fret on the G string. It's almost like arpeggiating a chord when you're playing a chord. So you have... and then he pulls off from that 6th note to the 3rd. So you pull off the 6th to 3rd, and then he skips down all the way back to the low E string, which is the B note on the 6th fret. So, and you get that one, it emphasizes the chord that you're on. After you're doing all this stuff and you go out a little, it's not really out, but it gives you those weird intervals. Then it defines that root note again. Then he skips back to the G string and goes 3, 5, and he goes up an arpeggio basically. 3, 5, next string is 4, and next string is 3. So 3, 5, 4, 3. Typical arpeggio. Then he does this little pull off where it's 6, 3, 4, 3. And this is where he gets really cool. This is what he does all the time. He starts introducing a little chromatic note, and it gets this outside kind of sound. but it's very smooth and silky. So he gets. So now he puts in a note that's outside the key, and it's the 7th fret of the B string. So, and then you pivot back up to that. It's really, if you went from the 3rd fret here to the 2nd fret, it's those 2 notes. Right? So instead it's... Then he goes down chromatically there. That's the cool, slick, chromatic stuff he would do. So... Then after he goes 7, 6, 5, 4 on the B string to get that chromatic, he goes to the 6th fret of the G string, back up to the 4th fret of the B string. And then he slides from the 5th to 6th on the G string, back down to 5, and skips down to the 8th fret on the A string. So that whole thing is... And that big leap in intervals is another one of those things where it throws that sound out from what most people do legato-wise, where they're just running up and down notes. And then he does it real quick. The last part is then he goes up in arpeggio, right? He's back on the 5th of the chord, which the chord is B flat. He's on the 5th, 8th fret of the A string. And then he just goes up in arpeggio, the minor arpeggio, which is barring the 6th fret on the G, B, and E string. And then he just does a pull off of 8 to 6, 9 to 6, and then he goes 10, 11, 12 chromatically, just those single notes. So it's... And now at that point, that's where the chord changes. This is all over B flat minor. And even that last part... And once he gets to that E note, it moves down a half step from B flat to A flat. And that E note is the 5th of that chord. And then he gets into the A minor pentatonic kind of stuff. So that whole thing real quick is just... let me see. Hold on. One more time. That it? I forgot to go back down to the low E note. Right? And it's really a real slick... Turn off my guitar, go back to the main screen. Hey, everybody, sub and subscribe and do all that stuff if you're into this stuff. If you want to see the tab, go to... So, to me, that was just a really, really slick way of using some legato stuff. But you see how, especially when he starts doing that chromatic stuff, he starts sliding around a little, right? He slide where Allen would take that and he'd slide from the 6th fret to the 7th fret to get that little chromatic note. That's pretty much what he's doing there.
Right.
So, did all that make sense, Steve?
Yeah, dude, that was cool.
You're my audience of one.
I'm gonna go back and watch it like tomorrow. Okay.
And if you guys want the tab, I will put the link to in below in the comments to this guy. I'll put a link to the actual album song so you could hear the whole song. The song is just a great groove, and I think Sean Lane takes a solo on this one. Frank might take a solo. They all three of them. Sometimes they don't on all those songs, but on this one they may all three. But again, it's called So What, and it's from that centrifugal funk. And I will I'll put a link to this video too, because the tab is there, and most of this line is accurate as far as where your fingers go and everything. The other ones are fine enough. You just may want to learn some alternate versions.
Right. And that is, if I remember correctly, the actual cover of the Miles Davis.
Yes. Yep. which is really cool. And that's how I started getting into Miles Davis. Funny enough, when I heard this, I was like, that's such a, and somebody told me that. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, no wonder why I like it. Kind of classic.
Right.
So real quick, the Allen stuff that starts coming in after that is he does certain lines like this. My screen. All right, so this is one I show all the time. This is off of his, I think his Liquid Legato book. In fact, Allen texted me or emailed me 2 days ago and told me that somebody had emailed him saying, hey man, I saw you had all these lesson packages and one of them was a melodic minor one. And it's funny, everybody loves, that's the one that everybody kind of gravitates towards.
Right.
Because throughout the years when the website's been down, which it still is, they always ask him, where can I get a hold of this? And all Allen does now is forward me that email. He doesn't even comment. like he used to forward it and say, hey man, people are looking for that. He just forwards it to me now.
That's, you know what that is? That's like the email form of disappointment.
Oh, it can 100%. I feel the disappointment.
He's just, you've completely let him down.
Yep.
Like he's just like, oh, you
Yep.
suck. That's
we were doing so well selling some lesson packages. There's so much good information. In fact, I was telling Steve that as I replied to this guy and said, hey, listen, you can still get it. I'm putting the website up, but if you want, you can direct comment to me and I'll get you the packages. But I told him that there were two that I don't think I even sent Steve that we had done a long time ago. That one was based on Jam Track Central. Was going to have Allen do some of those things where you jam over some tunes. And some of them were his tunes. Some of them were backing tracks that were just kind of more generic. And I don't know why that didn't go through, but it didn't. But we still had all that stuff recorded. And we ended up doing a lesson package for it. And there was another one for Guitar Techniques magazine. He had done it's like a 4-month series where every month he was in it. And maybe even 5. And there were like 4 or 5 tunes. And now that they shut that down, Guitar Techniques is no longer around. We did a lesson package of that to sell all those things, and we fully transcribed solos, the whole thing, and so it'll be out.
Didn't they transcribe those solos in that though, or no?
They did, but some of it was not accurate.
Well, that's what I figured. I didn't think it was accurate, but I thought there was
Although they usually did pretty accurate. They just yes, a lot of the slurs weren't there and blah blah blah. Anyway, so that stuff should be coming soon. But anyway, this is out of he's done. I think he's taught this a bunch of places. I think it was on his first Liquid Legato book, and yeah, it might have been somewhere else or whatever. But this line I always loved, where it's basically it's got 1 sharp, an F sharp basically. So however you want to think of that, a Lydian of C major or whatever, if you want to think of it as a Dorian of whatever. So to me, I'm just thinking of the shape of the actual fingers, because then I'm going to transpose it into like C major with no sharps or flats. And I'm going to go throughout. I'm going to play it here, then I'm going to play it here, then I'm going to play the next position, and that's how I try and get the most out of these licks, kind of like that Bumblefoot thing. So this is the line, basically, if I can remember to play through. That's it. It's hard to play these slow. Yeah, okay. Terrible. So I'm messing it up a bunch because I haven't played it in a long time, but not only that, my glasses are so thin that I don't really see very well. I get this I got to get bigger. I got to get Magoo glasses. I'm not very good at this. But the beginning of the line, what's really cool is he's playing the 5th fret 6 7 or 5 7 8 on the B string, and he slides from the 7 to 8. So instead of just playing 5 7 8 and then pulling off 7 5 on the E string, he does a slide. So 5, 7, slide that third finger to 8. And then he goes down in arpeggio, and arpeggio most people don't play, and this is how he switches positions, right? So he goes 5 on the E string, 8 to 9. So 5, then B string 8, G string 9. And now you're already in that second position, right? If you're thinking the first position in this fifth fret area, and the next position is up here, right? To get to that position, he's doing this long, wide arpeggio, which immediately puts you in that second position on the E note of the G string on the 9th fret. So then he pulls off to the first finger on the 7th fret. So, and then he hammers on from that 7th fret to the 11th fret. So it's a wide stretch hammer on. So you have, and then when he hammers on that, he pulls off on the B string 10 to 8. So you have, and then he does another wide string where he's skipping a middle note and he's going to that note. So it's like a major, minor, third. This is a major third interval here. Oh, this does have, does it? It actually has a C sharp in it too. Sorry. So we're talking 2 sharps here. So then he gets to the E string and he goes 10, 9, and he goes down on arpeggio again. So you have the 9th fret on the E string, 12, 12 on the B and G string. You have a pull off 10, 9, 12, 12 on the B and G string. So you see how he's mixing these legato motions, then arpeggios, and you have these hammer-ons and pull-offs that are intervals. They're not straight up just in linear lines. So you have, then he does this weird pull-off from the 12th fret to the 11 on the G string, and you have to use your 3rd and 1st finger because the next stretch is going to be to the 14th fret. So it's 12, 11, but you had just barred with your 3rd finger on the 12th fret. So you're left with your 3rd finger on the 12th fret. You have to pull off to that 11th fret, which is your 1st finger. So you have your middle finger sticking up, and then you go to 14. And then you get that D note on the B string on the 15th fret. So this is all D major, right? Right? You know what? Oh my God. This whole time I didn't have my guitar on. So I don't know. Did you hear any of that, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, so my mic here was picking this up, and I don't know if anybody was picking it up on the screen.
Anders is saying that he's having a problem hearing your guitar, so I'm hearing it here.
Anders, thanks for letting us know. Okay, so
yeah.
So real quick, I'm sorry that I'll go through a real quick version of that. Oh my God, that sucks. So this is all D major, and that's the line. Just a very slick legato line. And I'll include the tab to this in the comments. I will include this because of all that mess up if you didn't hear it. But the point of this, I'm sure you heard the actual verbal talking, was it's you have... Yeah, he said he couldn't hear anything. That sucks, dude. That's how good this podcast is. I got to have little stickets saying, turn this on, turn that off. So real quick, let me walk through this. I will do it really, really fast, not to bore you, Steve, okay? So you got 5...
Do it. Do it again.
5, 7 to 8 on the B string, and you're sliding. The cool, slick part is instead of doing 5, 7, 8 you're just hammering on with fingers, you're actually sliding from the 7 to 8 with your third finger. So you have, and then you go to the E string and pull off 7 to 5. Then you come down this cool stretchy arpeggio, which is the 5th fret. This is on the E, B, and G string. 5th, 8, 9. And that's what gets you into that second position. So you have, and then you pull off from the E to the D note on the G string from 9 to 7. So far you have. And this is where you do that wide stretch. Now you're skipping from the 7th fret to the 11th fret. And now you're skipping that middle note, which is in the scale, to get. So you have. All right. Then you have a pull off again, kind of like that pull off he did down here. You have the pull off here. Right? So you have these themes going on. And he does again that pull off from the 10 to 8 and then hammer on the 12 where you're skipping that middle note again, kind of like you just did up here. So you have. Now you go, when you're on the 12th fret, you go to the E string and you go 10 to 9. That's your D to C sharp. And this is where you do that arpeggio from the 9th fret, 12, 12 on the E, B, and G string. And that's where your third finger ends up landing on there. And you're going to have to pull off to your first finger on the G string on the 11th fret. So you can get to the 14th fret on the G string. And then you could put your pinky on the 15th fret of the B string. Right? You could, if you wanted, put your first finger on the D note of the E string up here if you wanted. Right? That gets a little wonky. But the way Allen does it, again, what's happening here is you're going through 4 different positions. And that's the slickness of what Allen does with these slides, these arpeggios. So again, the whole thing slow is. And now he has such a light touch. And he has a lot more compression on his guitar. So it sounds really gushy. But his pick attack is so super light. Now, to quickly go through where I go with this is that same concept. Now, if we just take that anywhere and we see that, again, the first part of that was a scale note, three scale notes, and you're sliding the second to the third one. Let's take that here in C major. So there's no sharps or flats. And we're going to go on the 8th fret, 10th fret, and 12 on the B string. 8, 10, 12, and it's a pull off of 10 to 8 on the next string, which is the same as this. But if you remember, we slid that second and third note. So this is going to be. And now instead of sliding with your third finger, you're sliding with your fourth because it's a larger stretch. So you have. Now the second part is you come down that weird arpeggio. It's like a pentatonic arpeggio. Right? So here you're going to go. So you have. That's what it is. So this one, you just have to figure out those intervals and figure out what the pattern is. Well, that's, right? Right, so you're figuring out that same, and now this is just the beginning of the lick. You can go through the whole thing and figure out the whole line, but at first I'm just trying to figure out that little slide with that arpeggio. And if I'm doing C major, the next part will be, the next one will be, right? You see how your fingers are going to get a little sloppy and weird because that pentatonic arpeggio is kind of a weird little arpeggio. Anyway, we're at an hour and a half, and I didn't want to go this deep into the whole thing. I wasn't going to go a note for note, and I apologize for that missing of the sounds or whatever. The real quick, the other lick that he kind of does sliding around all the place, he does this little string skipping thing where it's 9th fret on the G string, 9-5, and then he skips to the A string and goes 7-5. So 9-5, 7-5. And then he slides up half. That's it. So 9-5, skip a string to the A string, 7-5, 7. Then you're going to go up chromatically from, diatonically from 5, 7, 9 on the next string. So it's. And then to the 5th fret on the G string. So that's. But then when he switches position, he slides from that 9th fret on the D string to the 10th fret on the D string. So you have... And that's how he starts getting into the next position. So he goes... Then he starts... Then he gets into the next position by doing that little trick. But you see how he switches the fingers and then he slides up a half step. And that little half step, he does a lot of, even though I was showing some of that whole step movements there when I was doing diatonically or in C, he does a lot. Whenever there's an opportunity of a half step slide, he uses it. And a lot of times he uses that to transition to another position. Again, we're getting way deep into this time. I don't want to spread this thing too thin, and Steve hasn't opened his mouth once, and I'm getting terrible. So that's a lot. Anyway, if you guys are interested in this, we have a couple Allen Hinds lesson packages. There's a legato one in our little master class. There's a legato one. There's a major scale mode one. There's melodic minor. I forget what else there is. But he also has a couple books out called Liquid Legato. I'm not affiliated with any of those, but our lesson packages have all these things in it. I think every one of his lesson packages, even if it's major, melodic minor, whatever it is, it always has these elements in there. He's showing lines. Not that he's very much about the technique. It's just the way he plays. So all his lines kind of have these elements in them, which are very unique to, I bring it back to Brett Garcid. Brett would do those kind of things too. Brett would use more arpeggios to transition to different positions than he would those half step slides. But very similar. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the REH video of him. And if anybody wants to check that out, I'm sure that's on YouTube somewhere. But he does these arpeggios where he's uses
it also seems much more natural for Allen. Like it just,
I agree.
Not saying Brett sounds forced at all. I mean, but it just sounds like he's communicating.
And I think it's because it's a smaller piece. It's it's a half step slide and some little legato tricks with some, but what Brett tends to do, they're bigger arpeggios. They're 4 or 6 note arpeggios. There's legato lines, and there's always, whereas Allen doesn't sweep arpeggio kind of thing. The only time I ever really saw him sweep an arpeggio was in one of our lesson packages of a solo he did at the Baked Potato. He did this one thing that was just so, I love it. It's just this little put that down a little. But he's just sliding. There's that half step thing again. 12 to 13 back to 12 on the B string. Then he comes down like a little melodic minor thing where you have the 9, 9, 10, 9 to 12. 10, 9 on the D string, 12 on the A string. So it's... And then he comes up some legato. Then he starts doing that kind of thing where he's doing a unison note of the G string to the G string, pulling off the A to G.
Very saxophony.
So good, but it's just that kind of thing, and that's a 3 or 4 note arpeggio. Well, a 3 note arpeggio with some pull offs, but that's the most I ever remember hearing Allen do arpeggios. You know, I mean, and that's the thing that kind of got me out of the Gambali thing. I like the sweep arpeggio thing. I just don't like. And I remember Henderson, and this is on Henderson. This ain't on me. I'm not saying anything bad, but Henderson, I remember said he doesn't think Frank ever played. What did he say? He said, he goes, I don't know. I don't think Frank couldn't play a good line if he tried, or something. It was something to that thing where he doesn't. Right. I don't know if he didn't like Frank. I don't know if they didn't get along. I didn't know, but I do sort of understand what he's saying. A lot of his stuff is sweep arpeggios. And when he starts getting in the weeds of those arpeggios, to me, it's just a wall of sound. It's a good wall of sound, but there's nothing to grab onto. And then if he's connecting like 6 or 7 arpeggios together, cool, he's playing through the changes and doing that. But when it comes to like an actual phrase and he builds on a phrase, sometimes he'll do that, but it's never, excuse me, it's never anything super unique where I'm like, oh my God, what is that? And then he goes back to the sweeping thing. And so to me, that sweep stuff, I thought it was the coolest part of the sweep stuff was when Racer X was doing it. And it was just thrown in there as a blur of notes or whatever, but then they do all their stuff. But other than that, sweep arpeggios to me I was fascinated with them in music school because I was just like, what was that? And I remember even Lawler, when he used to play, he was in a band called Rasputin, and they were quite heavy band. They played some heavier stuff, but I'd always go there and I'd be sitting in the audience and I'd just be like, I just go to him, I go bloop, bloop, and all of a sudden he everywhere, every time he saw that, that's how good he was at improvising. In the middle of a song, no matter where he was, he'd throw in an arpeggio for me to laugh at.
Yeah.
And it was so fun.
Yeah, I never really got the whole. I mean, to me, it was like it was not musical. And that just always seemed like it was, and it has nothing to do with me not being able to do it, but I just always felt like it wasn't really a phrase, it wasn't really a line, and it wasn't really melodic. It was just a way to get from point A to point B. And
usually it's very diatonic within a key for the most part. I mean, I know Richie Kotzen used to do it in a way that I kind of liked it sometimes, where he would do that and then he'd tap and slide at the higher notes or whatever. And that was kind of to me like the Russ Parrish thing, where Rush would do this legato stuff, then he'd slide up to some high notes and then slide back down a little bit. So you'd have this swooshing of things going up and down. But to me, it wasn't really the notes. It was just that feeling of, it was almost like a roller coaster ride. And in the Frank stuff, if it's too roller coastery, where it's just doing that, I kind of dismiss it until he gets to more of the melodic kind of stuff.
So Anders is saying there's a great Frank Gambali solo on a Vital Information tune that he believes it's called Please Don't Make Me Feel Bad, which I'm going to check out as soon as we get done. And he agrees with a lot of what we're saying.
Yeah.
So
and it's not a knock on Frank. I mean, he's a great player, and I think he's one of those guys. Is a great teacher. He really knows his stuff. But I do remember it stuck out, and this was probably 10, 15 years ago that I heard Scott say this in an interview of something. I don't know. It may have been, you know what? I think it was on their, remember Henderson used to do a podcast with that Troy guy and Bruce Foreman. They used to have and that was, I love that. Dude, I listened to every week. I was like, please, I can't wait till that comes. I was working at a place where we were basically doing theme rides for Universal for the most part. And but every week I'd have my headphones buried on there and I'd be listening to this 2 hour, hour and a half podcast, and they'd tell so many stories. But I remember Scott saying, I think it was during that they were talking about Frank Gambali, and he just said, yeah, he couldn't play a good phrase if he tried. And I was just like, oh.
Well, I think the other thing about Frank too is that like a lot of this is gonna, I don't mean this to sound like, this is not me trying to get on the dick list, Dave. So
please climb up. You got to catch up.
What I think a lot of what Gambali did was like music store licks, and it was just like, if you go to the music store to try a guitar and you blow one of those lines out, you sound way cool.
Right.
But it's not. It's just like a music store lick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, I see. Anders said, Scott said lots of things about. Well, first of all, Scott said lots of things about a lot of people. He doesn't. He has less of a filter than most people do. That's what makes him him. Yeah. But I want to hear some of the stories. That's why I want to get Anders. When I get him on the phone, or during Christmas when I meet up with Lawler or something, maybe we can all meet up. But if we can get you on here, that'd be fun. I want to hear. I mean, maybe that kind of story wouldn't go, but and you know what, the dick list. This whole thing with the dick list, it's not. I think it's kind of a Jersey East Coast kind of thing. Because it's not being a jerk. Like, I'm not being a jerk. I'm just saying that, I don't know. All right. Anyway, you go, Steve.
The dick list is just what it is. It's the dick list. You know what I mean? And look, some people are on the dick list and other people aren't. That's all I'm saying.
And what we're going to do now is we're going to drink to that real quick. The drink of the week. So I got this, funny enough, this is a weird one. I haven't even tried it. It was referred. It's called Davidoff Cognac. This is a good mixer. And I haven't even opened it up. I ran out of cognac the other day, and I was doing some mixed cocktails that could use a little of that. And this was the $40 cheap mixer. I got another drinker that was like $80 or whatever. That was actually really good. Cognac tends to have a little bit of cherry in it. It's got a whole bunch of, it's a little sweeter sometimes. But I remember when I saw this, I laughed because Davidoff, wasn't that like a cologne or something? Wasn't there like something in the 80s a Davidoff cologne or something? But anyway.
What is that? Is that a 750, right? Is that 750?
Yeah, it is a 750 bottle. Yeah. But he said this is good. It's got good cherry flavor. He said it's got a little bit of vanilla, which I am not used to getting in cognac. I don't remember.
Right.
I don't drink a ton of cognac, but anyway, that's going to be my drink for tonight. What do you got going on?
What are you drinking? What are you drinking that with?
Well, right now I'm just going to drink it straight because that's how. Anytime I drink a new thing, I want to take a sample of it, whether it's a spoonful or a little bit, just so I can get the profile. So when I do mix it, I know how much of something is going to go into it.
Right.
So. Ooh, that smells.
And that's your plan. You're gonna.
That's my starter. Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have some Negronis this weekend. There's 2 or 3 I wanted to try. One that mixes a little bit instead of gin. It does so Negroni is gin, Campari, and sweet vermouth. And I'm not huge on any of those 3, but I do like it a little better now. I'm going to try an Aperol Negroni, so I'm going to just substitute Aperol out. And then I'm going to also try a cognac rye. It's not really Negroni, but it's going to be a cognac rye with those elements in it, the sweet vermouth and whatever. So we'll see where it goes. Hopefully I won't be too silly.
Too toasty.
What do you got going on this weekend?
My often weekends kind of starts with me passing out and going to bed, but I actually got myself a bottle of wine today, so I'm gonna have little wine with some dinner tomorrow night.
Nice.
Probably with the wife. We'll go out to Rutherford for some dinner and stuff. So I got a nice bottle of Rosemont GSM, which is a blend. I don't know. Do you do wine at all?
I do wine all the time. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So without going too crazy down the rabbit hole, GSM is a blend of Grenache, Shiraz, and Mourvedre, which I believe how you pronounce it,
okay.
or Mourvedre, which basically is like it's kind of more along the lines of just like a really good food friendly, velvety kind of good simple wine, but it's one that I like to spoil myself with once in a while, especially this Rosemont, which is like an Australian wine. I usually do all California wine. So
Right.
when I do drink wine, it's which is not very often. I usually do that if I'm going out for dinner, and we're gonna probably go out with some friends tomorrow night. So
Right.
I got 2 bottles of it. Rutherford is used to be BYO, or used to be like it was a dry town. Now it's now they have liquor licenses and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so that's
Send me a
the
picture of
plans
that,
for
because I've never
tomorrow.
heard that blend. I've never, and I'd be interested.
No, dude, it's really really good. I would highly recommend trying like that blend. It's kind of like a step up from like a Shiraz, because it's got mostly.
Yeah.
To me, that's what I get out of it. Yeah,
I went through a big Shiraz phase. I went through a big Malbec and Sangiovese phase. Those were, most people go Chianti, Cab, Merlot, if you're talking about reds or whatever. But when I went off the beaten path, I started doing those, and I remember there was like a full year of Shiraz going down that route. But then I started liking the lighter grape, the Pinot. When you get really watery Pinots, but the when you get a really full Pinot, which is a kind of a contradiction on such a baby grape kind of thing.
Right, well, everybody thinks it's a red grape, but it's really not.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, I once in a while I get back to my wine nerd, my wine nerd roots, but most of the time I'm usually in bed by 8 o'clock. So tomorrow I think I will sleep in, because it's my day off from the gym, and
nice.
We'll hang out. So Anders had another. I guess he does the hot sauce thing. So
I remember that. I do think I remember that. Interesting. Yeah. So he said
habanero.
He said would love to. I assume that's hopefully either chatting on the podcast or something. Maybe even, you know what? Maybe we'll do. Maybe we'll try and get, because we maybe next week or the week after we'll try and get more people in here, and maybe we'll see if Lawler will come and we can get the 4 of us in here.
Oh, that would be fun.
super fun. I know Shane. I think Shane's got some recording stuff going on in the next couple of weeks. He was going to do that live thing. He never ended up doing it. So I know he did post a video or two recently in the last week.
Yeah, he just did one, I think yesterday, where he kind of comes out and he talks about like Boss pedals and which I thought was really, everybody's like, F Boss. I still use my Boss pedals. Clowns.
Dude, he makes the most. Shane makes the most out of the least gear. Like, I mean, he's got some great stuff, but I remember he could just plug. He's one of those guys. You just plug into an amp and he will make it. It can be a PV Bandit. It could be whatever it is, and he will make it sound awesome.
Well, I mean, there should be a certain level of being able to pick up an instrument and be able to kind of make it swing. I mean, obviously, some guys are going to be better.
I've never gotten
than
there.
Others. Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, to me, like I get pissed off when guys are like, like they're all about the boutique cork sniffing nonsense.
Right.
It's just like, dude, if you can't, like, if you're saying that a guitar sucks because it's like not as good or expensive, then it's like, dude, come on, really? Like, that's not a, it's not the instrument thing. It's the youth.
Yeah.
Thing.
And I almost hate the fact that like I got all those Vemoram pedals the other week, right? So I got three different Vemorams, and I've got the Jan Ray, the Shanks, OD1 or ODS1 or something, the Landau, the Butter Machine, and the Fuzz, the Josh's Fuzz or whatever. And I didn't think I'd keep them all. I kind of think I'm gonna. They're just so uniquely different in their way, but. Like I'll love the Shanks, and then I'll plug the Jan Ray into it just to give it a little boost, and it changes the texture a little bit, and I really like it.
Right.
And then I'm like, after a few minutes or a half hour of playing it, I want to go back just to the shanks because I really like that one out of all of them. And then it almost doesn't sound as good. And I'm like, why when the first half hour of playing that, it was awesome. And now I doubled it up and I came back to it and it's not as awesome. And that's that tricky thing where I'm like, stop thinking about all this. They sound great. Your ears just getting tweaked one way or the other.
I was going to say, you probably have some form of ear fatigue after playing for that long, where you're just kind of like your perception of that sound. Because I've done that before too, where I've played something and I've walked away and I'm like, did I just think that sounded great? Because that sounds like shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
I didn't change anything. It's, it's like there's no gremlins. So I mean, but
and again, so and at the end of the day too, we talked about this. It's very much you and I. Why am I looking? Sorry, I was looking at the truth in shredding. All right, I just got to bring up one more topic with that. That's funny as hell. So, I think part of it is too because we're playing by ourselves, right? A lot of times we're playing in a room by ourselves with no backing track, whatever, and all we're hearing is that music. I'm turning my amp around half the time because I don't want to hear the harshness of the speakers. So if I were playing with a backing track, I wouldn't be hearing these nuances, and I'd just be playing. I'd be playing. That's where you start practicing lines and playing stuff. If you're just fiddling by yourself and working on a thing, that's when those little gremlins pop out, and you're just like, wait a second, man, that's a little trebly or something, and man, that not needed, not necessary.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the other thing. It's just like when you're home playing and practicing, that's really just that practice. But when you're playing in a band, you're not going to hear all those nuances, even stuff where you may not like be dead set on accurate. I mean, it's gonna get lost. So yeah, dude, no question about it. But you know what, man, enjoy whatever you have, dude. Like that's the other thing. Like, you could have, if you have an expensive piece of gear and you like it, fuck it, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, play it.
So this MVP thing. One last thing before we go. I didn't realize that the MVP thing with Gambali, Holdsworth, the Truth in Shredding one.
Is that the Jimmy Haslip?
Yes. Jimmy Earl on bass. It's the songs are composed by Randy Brecker, composed by Chick Corea, Wayne Shorter, Michael Brecker. There's one Frank Gambali composition. There's another Wayne Shorter. All these tunes are Michael Brecker and Chick Corea and Wayne Shorter's tunes. I didn't realize that. That's amazing. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this.
Yeah, I listened to that not that long ago, and it's funny too because when I listened to it, I was like, I knew some of those songs, and I'm like, it doesn't sound like that song.
Dude, I am a huge Brecker fan. I mean,
I know you are. Yeah,
dude, his first solo album just crushes me every time I go back to it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that he plays, but I'm glad there's a lot of videos out there of him, and that is a blessing. He's amazing, absolutely insanely amazing. Shane, last thing, Anders says, last time I saw Shane, I drove to the Poconos. God, I haven't been to the Poconos since I was a kid, playing the Nevilles. Dude, I used to love when he was with the Nevilles because he used to come to LA all the time. They used to love playing at the Hollywood Bowl. Sometimes they played, where was the other place? There was one other place that they played that was, I forget. But the Hollywood Bowl was always fun, and Shane would always be in a hotel in Hollywood, this kind of old, historic kind of Hollywood hotel. And I remember he would come out all the time, and he met his wife is Japanese, and he introduced me. I like sake, but I didn't know anything about it, and of course he knew a lot more. And his wife would send these 6-packs of sake. And did you know that when you tip the can over, there's a little pouch, and you pop it with your finger, and it heats up the sake. So you have these cans of heated sake. That's amazing. Who would ever think of that? I don't know. I just thought it was every time I went. Did you bring the 6-packs? Did you bring the 6-packs?
My sake knowledge ends at Gekikon. That's the only sake I know.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, it's a sake brand.
It's funny.
Gekikon.
All right, fellas, we're going to wrap this up. Anders, thanks for sticking around and checking it out, dude. Really appreciate you. I miss hearing your playing. I want to hear all these stories. I'm going to contact Lawler and see if he wants to step in, and if you want to too, I'll let you know how to set this up. It's really simple or whatever. We could have, I think, some good fun reminiscing about the old GIT days.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I love it. I want to start getting our friends on here and start having a little bit more, kind of just have different people on, and and because like I said, like, I mean, we're a small little, small little thing here, but like, so far we've had some amazing cats watch the show. I mean, it's been pretty wild that, like, I think, as we start doing that and start talking to more people,
I just like the conversation. I just personally like hearing all the stories. That's the fun thing.
Yeah, I love all that, and I love reminiscing.
Yeah,
and so it's cool, man. But yeah, that's the scoop, man. I wanted to, just as always, another Friday is come and gone, and just thank everybody. And Anders, look forward to connecting with you again. And David, obviously appreciate you guys. If anybody's watching for the first time and you haven't, just share this on your Facebook. Two idiots from Jersey having a fun on Friday talking guitar. Please helps the channel. And that's my spiel. David, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you guys next week. And I'll leave it to you to close it.
That's the same. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. If you guys got anything that you want to hear us chat about or transcribe, let us know. And next week, hopefully we'll have some surprises. We were talking in the background about some things, and maybe those will come to fruition too, but we didn't want to announce those quite yet.
Nudes.
But we'll see what happens. Anyway, everybody have a great weekend. Be safe. Have some good booze, and we'll talk to you next week. Later.
See ya. Bye.